wanted to show just a kind of some cool news, a bit of cool news that
Oh,
was
good.
sent about half an hour before the program started. I was, Cheon's running for governor of California, and
Right. We had him
we had him
on.
on the program a couple of times. I did an interview of him, and so this is just a brief little clip, and it kind of goes with the direction where we're going in the message today as well. So go ahead and put that up if y'all are ready for it.
All right, here we go.
Of the 13 candidates who participated in the Take Your Power Back California Governor Showdown, which two candidates would you most likely to see advance in the race for California's governor? These were the results. We can see that the top two candidates were Cheon at 57.1% and Louis Herms at 34.6%. The two trailing behind, Steve Hilton, 25.8%, and David Serpa at 11.7%.
Excellent. Wow, that's really good because the mainstream media won't give you those facts.
No.
They'll act like he's not even in the running, if you've noticed.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and again, I haven't heard it. I didn't hear his message, but I'm sure he didn't get voted as number one, who they'd like to hear more from, because he was scaring him more.
Right.
And that's going to connect to where we're going with today as well. So this started. What was interesting, that was kind of another confirmation for me, because I was like, oh, wow. So the message, the notes I have in front of me, there's more added to it, because it's never just to remain there. They're from speaking at Cheon's church in 2013. And so then, like 45 minutes ago, my sister sent me that particular clip right there with Cheon. I was like, well, that's another confirmation going on right there. So I had found myself in the habit of, I would give good news and good reports, because the Lord's had me do that kind of forever. And even back in, we'll say 2013, I was saying a lot. And I'm not just being Pollyanna.
Yeah, I mean, most people I don't even know. My generation all knows what that means, because
I'm gonna get there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell the history of it.
Good.
Because they need to know. Well, in short, just to get right where you're asking, right, the essence is, it's an excessively cheerful or optimistic person.
Yeah.
One that's not based in reality. So yeah, that's what you want people to know right up front, is that's it. So when I would say I'm not being Pollyanna, and then I heard the Lord, not audibly, but in the way I hear him often, and he said, what's wrong with Pollyanna? I like Pollyanna. And then he kind of went further and just like messed me up. I want a Pollyanna bride. And
oh, wow, that's good.
There's like, it shows she trusts a father and shows she trusts a bridegroom. And I was like, what? So we want to get into that. And it's not as simple as it could sound. And so in that, we'll just revisit what we just said was, what a Pollyanna is: an excessively cheerful or optimistic person. And so I think, we will have kind of recognition among friends if somebody's just too positive. They were like, they are not based in reality, and they can irritate the rest of us if they're too excessively positive. And because we consider it not rooted in reality, and in Christianity, it would be considered you're just ignoring serious realities of our day. Now, I'll have to say, I give the date of 2013 because honestly, it was significantly easier to give it in that day. It was easier, though California wasn't going through trouble. It wasn't a good time for California, and for a lot of people, it may not have been considered a good time as well. But I was already preaching the Seven Mountains, which takes a hopeful, positive perspective that our God can overcome the evils of these seven primary spheres of society. And he's called us and anointed us to be salt and light, where we can displace darkness and showcase the kingdom of God, the king's better way of doing things. So it's not a Johnny come lately message of hope and encouragement in that way. But it was easier to give that message when I only thought the world had some basic corruption problems, because we're all prone to fall, we're all prone to failure, we're all prone to pride, but not like what we've discovered in the last 5+ years. We can say, what have we discovered? That the earth has actually been ruled, the nations, all nations have been ruled by a Luciferian cult and mafia, who run the world with the worst kind of blackmail. I knew governments ran on blackmail, but it's more, okay, it's intimidation and money. And then you realize the blackmail has to do with anything from not just human trafficking, but children trafficking, sexual trafficking, to some just unthinkable things like cannibalism and the like. Just the most horrific things that we've been exposed to that have shocked us in the recent years, things that we found out. And they're not just trying to control us with that, but the control they desire is for the purpose of killing us. So they want to control. So if they can control, they can kind of in a secretive way, kind of through depopulation. You've heard the Bill Gates videos and other ones that have shared, Bill Gates years ago, there was a YouTube, I don't know if it's still available too, a video that would go around and say, I think, and he's got this whole room full of people that just listen intently, and nobody is shocked with what he says. With vaccines, I think we can get the world to 2 billion people. And this was like
I heard that clip. He really, really said that. And that was before AI, by the way. That was
before.
Yeah.
It is known not only that it was legit, but that's the theme of the whole population control crowd. The population control elite have been sounding internally among themselves with that for decades. So it's not really a surprise. They were decades ago. It was like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And so Bill Gates, like, I found the way. We can do it with vaccines, and we can do this, and in a way that we'll call the herd, and they won't even know it's taking place. And so we've awakened to this, and we've awakened through the poisoning that is taking place through our food that they sanction as okay, knowing fully well it's essentially some degree of poison for us, and the foods they won't okay because they heal us too much, and so they won't vouch for what is good. And so these pharmaceuticals, then they have, okay, first of all, I should say those are FDA approved, federal. This is a government agency that's approving your poisoning. And then the pharmaceuticals that 100% don't heal. 100% of pharmaceuticals only mask the symptoms, and the symptoms are created by the food poisoning or the air poisoning. We're not even hardly speaking into the chemtrails and what's taking place there. So, but we recognize that it's mostly through horrific vaccines. And we have to say, vaccines in theory, and maybe originally, can serve a good purpose. There is a science of how they can heal, but they found a way to accomplish their original goals of depopulation / murder. The desire was in initial phase to reduce us to 2 billion. So this is when Bill Gates is championing what he was doing, is like, we're going to kill 6 billion. And this is how we're going to do that. But they make it sound like this is some sort of, because you're caring for the planet, this is okay, this is justifiable. Again, shocking.